Imagine a world where sunlight has never touched, a world of crushing silence, where the darkness is so absolute it feels heavy, pressing against you with the weight of an entire ocean. Here, miles beneath the surface, the rules of life as we know them do not apply. There are no seasons, there is no day or night, there is only the eternal, freezing void. But in this alien darkness, something is moving. It is a shadow within the shadows, a creature that looks like a mistake of evolution, a nightmare drawn by a madman. It drifts effortlessly, a ribbon of black velvet against the black water. It has a tail that glows with a hypnotic, treacherous light, and a jaw that defies all logic. A mouth so vast, so cavernous, that it can swallow a creature larger than its own body in a single terrifying instant. For centuries, sailors whispered of sea serpents and monsters that lurked in the deep, dragging ships to their doom. They were wrong about the ships, but they were right about the monsters. They exist. They are real. And one of the most bizarre, most terrifyingly adapted predators on Earth is swimming in the abyss right now. This is the story of the Eurypharynx pelecanoides, the expandable maw, the Gulper Eel. Before we descend into the crushing depths to meet this creature face to face, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. The ocean is full of secrets and you won't want to miss what we discover next. Like this video and share it with someone who fears the deep. Let's show them why they should. To understand the Gulper Eel, you must first understand the hellscape it calls home. We are traveling down to the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone, plunging past 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 meters. At this depth, the pressure is catastrophic. It is equivalent to having a fully loaded elephant standing on your thumb. If you were here, your lungs would collapse instantly. The air in your body would turn toxic. But for the Gulper Eel, this crushing weight is not a burden, it is a blanket. It is safety. The water temperature hovers just above freezing. It is a world of suspended animation. Food is incredibly scarce here. There are no lush coral reefs, no schools of tuna flashing in the sun. There is only marine snow, dead organic matter, poop, and rotting flesh drifting down from the world above. The creatures that live here are the desperate, the strange, and the starving. They are survivors of a brutal game of evolutionary chance. In this void, the Gulper Eel reigns as a ghost. It doesn't swim with the power of a shark or the grace of a dolphin. It doesn't need to. It drifts. It hangs in the water column, suspended in the dark, waiting. It is a creature stripped of everything unnecessary. It has no scales to weigh it down. It has no pelvic fins. It has no swim bladder, that gas-filled organ that keeps most fish buoyant, because at these pressures, a bag of gas would be a liability. Instead, its body is filled with lipids and oils, lighter than water, allowing it to float effortlessly without expending a single calorie of precious energy. It is a shadow, a phantom, and it is perfectly designed for a world of nothingness. Let's look closer. If we were to illuminate this creature with the lights of a submarine, the first thing you would notice is the mouth. It dominates the creature's entire existence. The Gulper Eel is essentially a giant mouth with a tail attached. Its head is disproportionately massive, a biological absurdity. The jaws are not hinged like yours or mine, or even like a snake's. They are loosely connected to the skull, swinging wide, impossibly wide. Imagine if your jaw could unhinge and drop down to your waist. That is the scale we're talking about. This mouth is a trap. It is a net. When the Gulper Eel feeds, it doesn't bite, it engulfs. The lower jaw is a massive, pouch-like structure, similar to a pelican's, but far more terrifying. This is why it is sometimes called the Pelican Eel. But unlike a pelican, which scoops fish from the surface, this eel scoops water, prey, and everything in between in the pitch black. The skin of the Gulper Eel is a deep, velvety black. This is not an aesthetic choice, it is active camouflage. In the deep ocean, the primary colors of bioluminescence are blue and green. Red light does not penetrate this deep. By being black, the Gulper Eel absorbs almost all light that hits it. It becomes invisible. It is a black hole in the shape of an eel. Its eyes are tiny, almost bead-like. You might think a deep-sea creature would need huge, saucer-like eyes to see in the dark, like the giant squid or the spookfish. But the Gulper eel has taken a different evolutionary path. It is given up on sight. In the midnight zone, eyes are barely useful. Instead, it relies on something else. Running along the length of its body is a lateral line, a series of sensory pores that can detect the faintest vibration in the water. A shrimp twitching its leg 50 feet away sends a pressure wave through the water that the Gulper eel can feel as clearly as you feel the wind on your face. It sees the world through touch and vibration, creating a 3D map of the darkness around it. It is a masterwork of biological engineering, stripped of the unnecessary, optimized for the dark. But its most terrifying feature is located at the very tip of its long, whip-like tail. The Gulper eel is not a chaser. It cannot outswim a frantic squid or a darting lanternfish. It is physically frail. Its muscles are weak, its bones are fragile and frail. If it tried to chase prey, it would starve. So, it cheats. At the end of its long, tapering tail lies a photophore, a biological light bulb. This organ glows with a steady, pinkish-red pulse. In the absolute darkness of the abyss, this light is a beacon. It is a star in a starless sky. To a curious crustacean or a small fish, this glowing point of light looks like food. It might look like a small piece of marine snow, or perhaps a tiny bioluminescent creature. Drawn by the promise of a meal, the prey swims closer. The Gulper eel hangs motionless, its black body invisible in the gloom. It gently waves its tail, moving the light back and forth, mimicking the movement of a helpless animal. Closer, closer. The prey is now inches from the light. It prepares to strike, but it doesn't realize that the light is attached to a tail, and the tail is attached to a monster. In a fraction of a second, the Gulper eel strikes, but it doesn't lunge forward, it unfolds. The massive jaws swing open, the mouth expands into a gigantic balloon-like cavern. This sudden expansion creates a vacuum. Water rushes into the mouth to fill the void, and the prey is sucked in along with it. It is violent, sudden, and inescapable. One moment, the prey is looking at a pretty light. The next, it is inside a black void. The jaws snap shut. The Gulper eel's stomach is highly elastic, capable of stretching to enormous sizes. It can swallow prey that is physically larger than itself. Imagine eating a meal that is the size of your own body, swallowing it whole. The eel's stomach expands, distorting its entire shape, turning the sleek eel into a bloated globular mass. Digestion in the deep sea is slow. A meal like this might last the Gulper eel for months. It will drift in the dark, slowly dissolving its prey, the nutrients sustaining it in the freezing cold. It is a life of extreme patience, punctuated by moments of extreme violence. Where did this creature come from? How did it end up here? To understand the origins of the Gulper eel, we have to look back into deep time. The order of eels, Anguilliformes, has been on this planet for over 100 million years. They swam in the oceans while the T-Rex walked the earth. During the Cretaceous period, the oceans were dangerous places, filled with massive marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Many species were pushed into deeper, darker waters to escape predation. The ancestors of the Gulper eel were likely among these refugees. Over millions of years, as they descended into the abyss, natural selection began to carve away the traits they no longer needed. Scales were heavy and useless, they vanished. Strong swimming muscles were energy expensive, they atrophied. Eyesight became secondary to vibration detection. But the most critical adaptation was the jaw. In the deep sea, you cannot afford to be a picky eater. If you encounter food once a week or once a month, you must be able to eat whatever it is, whether it's a tiny shrimp or a massive squid. The individuals with slightly larger mouths, slightly stretchier stomachs survived. They passed on their genes. Generation after generation, the mouth grew, the skull shrank, and the stomach became a bag of infinite holding. The Gulper eel is a time capsule. It is a relic of a prehistoric migration into the dark. It survived the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. It survived the ice ages. It survived the warming and cooling of the oceans. It survived because it became the ultimate opportunist, the ultimate survivor in a world where nothing goes to waste. For most of human history, the Gulper eel was completely unknown. It lived and died in the dark, unseen by human eyes. It wasn't until 1882 that the French zoologist Léon Louis Vaillant first described this creature. The specimen was brought up by a trawling net dragged from the depths. But the journey to the surface is brutal for deep-sea creatures. The change in pressure causes their bodies to distort, their stomachs to rupture, their eyes to bulge. The specimen Vaillant saw was a gelatinous, mangled blob. It looked nothing like the majestic, terrifying hunter it was in life. For decades, this was how we knew the Gulper eel, as a dead, grotesque specimen in a jar of formaldehyde. Scientists argued over its classification. Was it truly an eel? Was it a freak mutation? Its anatomy was so strange, the lack of ribs, the tiny skull, the massive mouth, that it defied easy categorization. But technology eventually caught up with our curiosity. In recent years, remotely operated vehicles like those from the EV Nautilus expedition have descended into the abyss with high-definition cameras, and suddenly we saw the ghost come alive. There is a specific moment captured on video that changed everything we thought we knew about the Gulper eel. The ROV is scanning the seafloor near Hawaii, thousands of meters down. Suddenly, a strange shape enters the frame. It looks like a black balloon with a tail. It's a juvenile Gulper eel, but it has inflated its massive mouth, likely as a defense mechanism to look larger. As the ROV watches, the eel begins to change. It expels the water from its mouth. The balloon deflates. The creature contorts, its body rippling like liquid smoke. In seconds, it transforms from a bloated sphere back into a slender, ribbon-like eel. It performs an acrobatic dance, twisting and turning, before vanishing into the gloom. The scientists watching the feed were stunned. You can hear their gasps on the recording. They weren't looking at a sluggish, passive drifter. They were looking at a complex, dynamic creature with behaviors we are only just beginning to understand. It was a moment of revelation, proof that the deep sea is not just a graveyard, but a theater of life. When early sailors saw strange creatures brought up in nets, or perhaps glimpsed dying giants floating on the surface, their minds filled in the blanks. A creature with a mouth like a Gulper eel, scaled up to the size of a ship, becomes the Leviathan. It becomes the sea serpent that swallows sailors whole. In a way, the Gulper eel is a sea monster. It is just smaller than the legends. But scale is relative. To a lanternfish, the Gulper eel is a dragon. It is a creature of impossible geometry, a devouring void that appears out of nowhere. There is a theory that the sea bishop or sea monk monsters of medieval folklore, described as having human-like heads and flowing robes, might have been distorted sightings of deep-sea creatures like the Gulper eel or giant squid. The Gulper's massive head and tapering body could, to a terrified and superstitious mind, look like a robed figure from hell. But the reality of the Gulper eel is far more interesting than the myth. The myth is just a story of fear. The reality is a story of adaptation, of the incredible plasticity of life. It challenges our definition of what a fish should look like. It reminds us that nature has an imagination far wilder than our own. There is one final, haunting mystery about the Gulper eel: its end. We know very little about how they reproduce. We have never seen them mate, but clues hidden in their anatomy tell a tragic story.
As male gulper eels reach sexual maturity, they undergo a bizarre transformation. Their olfactory organs, the parts of their brain and nose responsible for smell, begin to grow. They become massive, dominating the head. The male becomes a sensory antenna tuned to one specific frequency, the scent of a female. But this transformation comes at a terrible cost. As the nose grows, the teeth degenerate. The massive jaw, the creature's defining feature, begins to waste away. The stomach shrinks. The male gulper eel stops eating. He has one purpose left in his life, to find a mate in the endless dark. He swims, burning through his stored fat reserves, guided only by scent. He searches the vast, empty ocean for a female. It is a suicide mission. He's racing against his own starving body. If he finds her, he fulfills his biological destiny. He passes on his genes, and then he dies. The female, too, likely dies after spawning, her energy exhausted by the production of eggs. Their bodies drift down, becoming marine snow, food for the next generation of deep-sea scavengers. It is a poetic, melancholy cycle. The creature that spent its life as a devouring mouth ends its life by starving itself for the sake of the future. It is a story of sacrifice, played out in the dark, witnessed by no one. Why does this matter? Why should we care about a weird eel living 3 miles underwater? Because the gulper eel represents the unknown. We have explored less than 5% of our oceans. We have better maps of the surface of Mars than we do of the Earth's seafloor. Every time we send a submersible down, we find something new. New species, new behaviors, new chemicals that could cure diseases. The gulper eel reminds us of how much we don't know. It challenges our arrogance. We think we are the masters of this planet, but the majority of the livable space on Earth is deep ocean. This is their world. We are just tourists visiting the surface. There are mysteries about the gulper eel that we still cannot answer. How do they communicate? Do they have social structures? How long do they live? Some scientists estimate they could live for decades, silent watchers in the deep. Others think they might be ephemeral, growing fast and dying young. We just don't know. And in an age where information is at our fingertips, where every corner of the globe is mapped by satellites, there is something profoundly beautiful about that mystery. There is something thrilling about the fact that there are still monsters in the dark waiting to be found. Conclusion, the reflection. Picture the gulper eel one last time. It is drifting in the absolute zero of the abyss. Its heart beats slowly, conserving energy. Its tail glows with that soft, treacherous pink light. It is alone in the crushing dark, a solitary hunter in a world of silence.
It is a creature of nightmares, yes. It is grotesque, yes. But it is also a miracle. It is a testament to life's refusal to give up. Even here, in the cold, in the dark, under pressure that would crush a tank, life finds a way. Life adapts. Life endures. The gulper eel is not just a biological curiosity. It is a mirror. It reflects the resilience of nature. It reflects the deep, primal parts of our own history, the time when our ancestors, too, fought to survive in hostile worlds. So the next time you look out at the ocean, staring at that flat blue horizon, remember this: you are only seeing the roof. Beneath you, down in the basement of the world, the gulper eel is waiting. It opens its impossible jaw, it lights its lure, and it waits for the dark to deliver its next meal. The ocean is deep, the ocean is dark, and it is very, very alive. Thank you for journeying with us into the abyss. If this deep dive into the world of the gulper eel fascinated you, or if it gave you a new appreciation for the monsters of the deep, please hit that like button. It helps us bring more of these hidden worlds to light. Do you think the gulper eel is a terrifying monster or a misunderstood survivor? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you have a suggestion for the next creature we should explore, drop it in the comments too. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a notification. We have many more journeys planned into the unknown, and trust me, the things we have found are even stranger than the gulper eel. Until next time, keep exploring, Stay curious, and remember, don't be afraid.